Leeds find themselves in a bad spot heading into the January transfer window. We all know of their high-tempo pressing play style under Marcelo Bielsa, but injuries have left out several crucial pieces to their team system. We're going to take on a realistic Leeds United rebuild, staying true to Bielsa's tactics and making signings that the club could hypothetically pursue or make for a good storyline. With the aim of implementing Leeds' current situation, I've replicated the same results for the club fixtures heading into January, with a few exceptions for postponed matches. That leaves us just outside of the Premier League relegation zone as we kick off this rebuild. But to better understand the club, I want to talk about some of their key players and new arrivals this season. Despite arriving just last season, Rafinha has established himself as one of the Premier League's most prolific wingers and attracting interest from clubs around the world. You've also got England international Calvin Phillips, who plays a big part in this tactic. He plays at center defensive mid, but often drifts back and helps out those defenders. And although only having an important squad role, Meslier has been one of the Premier League's best goalkeepers this season, even showing great potential in this save. But for the new transfers, you got Dan James arriving from Manchester United for 26 million. Barcelona's current financial situation meant that a lot of transfers went out of the club. Junior Firpo arriving for 13.5 million. The Jack Harrison transfer has been made final after spending a season on loan, 11.5 million for this transfer. Lastly, we've got Claesson, who will be a prospect goalkeeper, arriving for 1.8 million. As per usual, we have a homegrown talent in this save, Jacob Berry, this time being a right winger. And taking a look at all the youth academy players and young prospects in this Leeds squad, I'll be sending a lot of them out on loan. For Barry, I think we convert him to a striker already pretty gifted in the pace and shooting attributes. And I gave him a +3 in his rating. By the way, these are the players that are currently out on loan. We'll likely see some more departures once we get into the January transfer window. A 5-star, 4-star scout to begin the save. Leeds have helped develop the career of plenty of young players. Rio Ferdinand comes to mind when he made his transfer from West Ham. Even a few prospects coming out of their academy like Calvin Phillips. It'll be tough for us to achieve all these board objectives considering Leeds' poor start to this season. But hopefully we can push for mid-table and definitely try to avoid relegation. A couple of problem areas halfway through season 1. Not only is squad morale low, we were unable to avoid the injury bug. Junior Firpo picking up a 3-month knock, which means that we'll have to sign a replacement left back in this coming transfer window. On one hand, Leeds were quite active in the summer transfer window, but on the other, the club needs to make some signings in order to avoid relegation. We did receive offers for Rafinha, but like I said, I'd like to see him stay at least one season in the save and hopefully IRL. The criteria I kind of looked at for incoming players is those that have good stamina, usually 85 or higher. Nahitan Nandez fits that build perfectly. He's actually been linked with a move to the Premier League and Leeds United as he is playing for struggling Cagliari. Versatile player, can provide cover out on the right side, but can also play centrally. We're going to complete this signing for 20 million, and hopefully he can be a long-term player in this team. I will go ahead with that position change, converting him from right midfield to center mid, giving him a +1 in his rating. And Lewis O'Brien playing for rival club Huddersfield Town, but linked with a move to Leeds. Another versatile option, can play center mid, center defense mid, or, as we very much need, left back. Not the highest potential player, but I always try to make the effort and complete some linked signings. 5 million for this deal, basically double his evaluation, but I think he'll fit in quite well for us at left back as we take a look at the starting 11. The goal will be to catch a good run of form and improve that squad morale. And we actually did achieve that as we check in May. Couple of good efforts, particularly that 3-0 win against Arsenal. It was enough for us to escape relegation, finishing in 16th place, 5 points clear of the drop. Liverpool going on to win the Premier League title with only 3 losses in their campaign. United with a victory in the FA Cup final. Liverpool picking up the double with a win in the Carabao Cup. Chelsea reaching the Champions League final in back-to-back seasons, but it is Real Madrid to lift the trophy this time around. Benfica winning Europa League, and it's Leverkusen to win the Conference League on pens. Pretty happy with some of these individual statistics, particularly for Patrick Bamford, who remained healthy for this entire first season. 16 goals from 40 appearances. Jack Harrison and Dan James saw some good growth in their rating. Harrison leading the club in assists. And our homegrown talent got that initial boost to his rating by converting him to a striker. Ended up going +7 by season's end. Promoting a single player from our youth scouting, Aaron Stevenson, an English center attacking mid. Only an overall of 59. But it seems to be on the rise as he has potential of 74 to 94. Pretty surprised we only saw a slight drop in our manager rating. We're in good shape heading into season 2 of the rebuild. A lot of implications for season 2, our first full year of the rebuild, and I'd like to make the push for Europe. You can see a couple of changes to our starting 11, actually including Shackleton at the right back position. Saw a lot of growth in season 1, so I figure we'll give him a shot. As we review board objectives, if you are enjoying the rebuild so far, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. As a club that just survived relegation, I think it's realistic to let one of our crucial players go. Rafinha, having the highest likelihood of leaving the club, at least at the current moment. 70 million will be the transfer fee, bringing up our total transfer budget to a significant amount. And now we can be busy on bringing players in. It seems set that Tagliafico would leave Ajax last summer. That never happened. And this season, he's not nearly getting as many minutes. A player, of course, that will fit the Bielsa system quite well, being Argentine himself and having high stamina. Only 17.5 million for the transfer fee, well below his current evaluation as he had his contract expiring at season's end. And then you've got Weston McKennie, who has been linked with a move to the Premier League. I believe last year, it almost seems set that he would leave Juventus for Southampton. To be fair, he's played a more important role for Juve this year, but the club is struggling. And again, this is a versatile player that is going to put in a full 90 minutes for the team. For only 25 million, I imagine he is going to be a crucial player in our midfield for the rest of this rebuild. Speaking of Southampton, they will be the club that we kick off our Premier League campaign against. The aim is Europa League, and we'll see if this squad can get the job done. Checking in January of 2023, not too much of an improvement despite all the signings. Only one spot higher in the Premier League table compared to season's end. And looking at the squad, again, we're facing the morale issue. Still a lot of funds left over from the Rafinha transfers at the beginning of the year. So we'll make a couple of improvements, adding squad depth at the striker position with Breherton Diaz. He has been on fire in the championship and is linked with a move to the Premier League. Brighton is probably the top destination right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if clubs like Leeds and even Newcastle would be in the mix. But for this save, 20 million will be the transfer fee. We're paying a lot, but this is a deal that I definitely wanted to have happen at some point in this rebuild. Now for transfers out, I decided to add an extra stipulation while I was recording this rebuild. If we didn't achieve the board objective of reaching Europa League, whether that be through our Premier League or Cup performances, then we would let another crucial player go, whether that be Calvin Phillips, who received an offer from Manchester City, or Meslier, who I imagine will be garnering interest from other clubs. I thought this was an interesting offer from Spurs, considering they have another French keeper right now in Hugo Lloris. We will see one departure though, Adam Forshaw, no longer in the starting 11 or substitute, so he'll be heading to Southampton for 2.3 million. We've improved the team across the board, and I have decided to move some players around. Shackleton really stunted his growth, didn't see much increase in his rating. So we'll be playing Firpo down the right side. I know he is a left back by default, but it won't be impacting his rating too much in game. But as we simulate towards the end of the season, we're actually through to the FA Cup final against Spurs. To be fair, we saw a rise in our Premier League standings, finishing mid-table, which isn't bad, but not exactly where I wanted to be. About 17 points off a Europa League qualification, but if we can go ahead and get this dub against Spurs, then it won't make too much of a difference. We've defeated some decent opponents to reach the final. I think the biggest victory being against Manchester United in the quarters. We will start this match on a positive note, though. It's Dan James running down the left. I think must have been on a counterattack because usually I have him playing on the right side. Eventually the shot saved by Hugo Lloris, but now James down the right. Will Lofton across, and Weston McKennie in front of goal will win the header. I think that's an underrated area of his game. His jumping is just incredible, and he creates a lot of space between him and Langley. Trying our best to hold a strong defensive performance. Nandez got the initial tackle in, but it's going to be Reguilon sending in the cross, and Arnold, a new transfer for Spurs, will tap that one in front of goal. Equalizing the match, 1-1 in the 33rd minute, and on a set piece. It's not going to be scored from the initial corner, but it falls to Harry Kane. Just a mistake on my end. I should have just cleared the ball away instead of trying to do too much. And Harry Kane, you can't give him extra chances in front of goal because they'll usually find the back of the net. Bamford doing his best to find the equalizer, unfortunately denied by the crossbar as Spurs frantically get that one cleared. And we'll bring on Breherton Diaz in the 75th minute. It's typically around the time I would bring him on during the interactive match sims. And Diaz won the ball back to spark that counterattack in the 91st minute out of 93. It's James to send this match to extra time. Not much happened in the following 30 minutes, so we'll get straight into penalty kicks. And both strikers actually missing the opening pens, which is a bit surprising, but Son converts for Spurs. Rodrigo will convert for us, so we're still level. That's the important thing. We're going to be set in the wrong direction on the following pen, and Breherton Diaz goes down the middle, Lloris stays. So now we need to spark a bit of a comeback. If we do miss this pen from James, then we will be eliminated, but he sends Lloris in the wrong direction. Now we need to see some saves. Arnold got the first goal for Spurs, but he's going to have this pen go off of the post. A chance for us to bring things level, and it's Jack Harrison who does convert. What a comeback this has been, and now we can focus on moving forward. Meslier with a huge save, and it will be our captain for Season 2, Calvin Phillips, to step up. He'll be sending us through to Europa League for next season. When I was deciding the penalty kick order, I thought about having Phillips further up, but for some reason, the number 6 spot was calling out to me, and it truly worked out perfectly. Only took us 2 years to win some silverware for Leeds. And most importantly, we're going to retain a lot of our crucial players like Phillips and Meslier, who played a huge part in this victory. City will take the Premier League title away from Liverpool. We do end up finishing 9th in the league, so top half of the Prem, I'll take that. And of course, we are into Europe courtesy of our victory in the FA Cup. Arsenal winning the Carabao Cup over Manchester City. Atletico Madrid winning Champions League. Leicester to win Europa League, and it's Wolfsburg to win Conference League. Bamford continues to be the top goal scorer with our new signing. McKennie also getting into the double digits for goals. Jack Harrison, the only player to get double digits for assists. And we sent out our homegrown talent Barry on loan to Valencia, a club who we have a lot of transfer history with. +5 in his rating, so I think he's ready to be a rotational striker for us. A rise in our board objective as well, and European football in Season 3. As we get further and further into this rebuild, some interesting storylines could play out, of course, with transfers happening and also clubs performing worse than they do IRL. It may make for some good transfers. As far as the board objectives go, they do want us to, again, finish in a Europa League spot in the league and reach the semifinal of the competition. We've been placed in a group with Royal Antwerp, Hajduk Split, and also Shamrock Rovers. For the transfer budget, 117 million, so it seems like we've stabilized at that number. And speaking of relegated clubs, Crystal Palace have actually dropped down to the championship. They've also signed Gianluca Mancini, a Roma center back that has a good amount of potential in career mode. Leeds have signed a couple of Italian players in the past, most recent being in 2014. So we'll be bringing this player in for 40 million. I know that's a big fee, but I think this is going to significantly improve our defense. Further emphasized by the signing of Joachim Mela from Atalanta, had a great Euros tournament with Denmark, and another one of those players that is super versatile, has high stamina, so he's going to be a perfect fit for us at Leeds. 25 million is the transfer fee, and this was a pretty good deal considering it's not much more than his current evaluation, and now we have plenty of squad depth at the fullback spot. One final transfer with a backup goalkeeper. Kiko Castillo was Leeds' former number 1. The Spaniard is currently out on loan, and in this save, he is nearing retirement. So we're going to sign one of the few players that have a Real's face scan right around this overall rating. Miguel Moro from Rayo Vallecano. Really didn't have to spend much for this transfer, only 2.5 million. I think that's partly because he had his contract expiring. With all the arrivals, though, I do want to include a couple of departures. I didn't necessarily need to have Koch lead the club, but because Arsenal have signed a couple of Germans in the past, including a German center back with Per Mertesacker, thought this would be a good fit. They also paid a big fee of 22 million, so he'll be staying in the Premier League. Elder Costa seems to be doing better out on loan at Valencia IRL, so we decided to let him go as well to Fenerbahce for 4 million, and finally Click leaving for Marseille for 2.2 million. Actually starting our season in the FA Community Shield against Premier League winners Manchester City. Only a 1-0 defeat, so I'm glad that we can kind of hold our own against the top opposition in England. The league and Europa League will be the main emphasis for us. So this will be the squad heading into the season. Calvin Phillips still leading the way at an 86 rating, but across the board, I think this team is ready for European competitions. We'll check in halfway through Season 3, and it seems like the improvements have made the difference for us as we sit 3rd in the Prem, 5 points ahead of Manchester United as well. And Europa League, we won all 6 of our matches, giving us 18 points from the group stage. Some improvements in rating, including our captain Phillips going up by 1. Well, we'll head into the round of 16 fixture, and arguably one of the most difficult opponents remaining, in my opinion, are Benfica. Fortunately, we picked up a 1-0 victory in the away leg, 2-0 at home, putting us through 3-0 on aggregate. And into the quarterfinals against another tough opponent, Manchester United. They won the first leg 1-0, but a huge outing for us at Old Trafford, 4-2 on the day, 4-3 on aggregate. And we're into the semifinals against Inter. I don't know how all these teams ended up in Europa League, but unfortunately, this is where we're going to see our campaign end. 1-0 in the first leg, 1-1 in the second leg. And we'll go ahead and play this final match day in the Premier League against Manchester City. As we take a look at the league table, You can see why I chose to include this one. Just 1 point separating us and Manchester United for that crucial 4th place spot. Technically speaking, City could also jump into Champions League qualification if results go their way, and of course they win against us. But as far as these highlights go, I felt pretty confident going into the match. I know City are tough opposition, but looking at how we play, I really like our system. The fast build-up suits my playstyle well, and of course it fits Leeds' philosophy in tandem, but we do concede from a corner kick, and kind of a weak one to concede, as Militao's header does find the near post, giving them the early lead, but we'll push on. And eventually, Nandez finding Bamford. He'll play out wide to Harrison, eventually working the pass back to Bamford in the first time effort, finding the goal. It's 1-1, 33 minutes played, and it is still anyone's match. A big part of our game plan is to also press upon possession loss, and Dan James is one of the best players to do that. Winning back possession, and within moments, he's able to play the ball across to Jack Harrison. Scoring against one of his former rival clubs. Of course, he came through the Manchester United Youth Academy, so I'm sure he has some history with Manchester City, having also been part of the Manchester City group system in NYCFC and being sent out on loan from City. But it was a goal from Bernardo Silva that brought things level once again. We'll try to get the go-ahead one in the 74th minute, a really unusual one for us to score, but Bamford's header somehow found the back of the net, and I think this had a lot to do with Zach Steffen. He didn't exactly play too well, and I'm not sure why they started him over Ederson in this one. But hey, we'll take a 3rd goal, and in a match where you have 2 of the Premier League's best managers, in my opinion, with Bielsa and Guardiola, we'll end up on top and secure our place in Champions League next season. It's a shame for City too, because had they won, they would have moved up past Manchester United because they lost their final match. Chelsea winning the Prem, so we've seen 3 different winners in all 3 seasons. United winning the FA Cup, and again, securing their place in Europa League next season. Merseyside derby in the Carabao Cup, with Everton winning this one 4-3 on penalties against Liverpool. Milan with a somewhat surprise victory in Champions League, a quick rise to the top as they win against Chelsea in the final. Inter went on to win Europa League over Barcelona, and Everton also winning Conference League with a 3-1 win against Sporting. Despite being 30 years old, Bamford is still growing in this save. 19 goals for him across 46 appearances, and Weston McKennie again putting up big numbers in season 3, 12 assists from 53 appearances. A big part of our success though came from the back, Meslier leading the Prem in clean sheets by a huge margin, 8 higher than anyone else. So the move to bring in some new defenders seems to have worked out for the better. We've seen some big growth from our players out on loan. Gelhardt went up +5 to a 75 overall, so suddenly we have choices to make at the striker position. Also had a successful youth academy network in England, funding a 64 rated goalkeeper who may be our rotational GK between him and Morrow. Manager rating, not much change this year, but we fulfilled most of our objectives and are ready for Champions League football in Season 4. Season 4 and Leeds are starting to establish themselves as one of the Premier League's best sides, and we're going to keep that in mind as we head into the summer transfer window. Board objectives, we're looking to sign a crucial midfielder or a forward. Again, repeating top 4 in the Prem and looking to reach the semifinals of Champions League. We have Lyon, Spartak Moscow, and Trabzonspor in our group. A massive rise in our budget as well. That's what Champions League football will do for you. 220 million. There is really only one striker that I wanted to sign heading into Season 4, and that is Erling Haaland. Obviously, one of the world's best strikers, and in career mode, one of the top potential players. You might be asking why I'm looking here when I'm trying to keep this career mode realistic. Well, Haaland actually has quite a few ties to Leeds. He was born there as his father was playing for Leeds back then, and he very nearly joined the club had it not been for the 4 million fee that Molde wanted. Leeds were just unable to pay that at the time because they were in the championship, so instead, he went to RB Salzburg. We kind of know the rest. But first, we had to let a few other players go, and I decided to just let our other strikers leave, as I still wanted Bamford to get enough play time. So Barry joined Burnley for 40 million. Breherton Diaz heading over to Spain and Celta Vigo for 22 million. Rodrigo returning to his former club in Valencia for 10.5 million. And Sam Greenwood joining fellow Premier League side West Ham for 6 million. 260 million is ultimately what we had to pay for Haaland, well above his evaluation. That it's too good of a storyline to pass up on, also achieving our brand exposure objective of signing one crucial first team forward. So as we kick off the Premier League season with 3 matches that we should be winning in August, Haaland will take over as the top player at the club. Phillips not too far behind him, and I think we can make a strong case for both the Prem and Champions League this season. We'll check in January 2025, we find ourselves in third in the league. Both Manchester clubs, City and United, ahead of us. And for the Champions League group, we finished second, 2 points behind Lyon. But I've said this in previous rebuilds, I don't care too much about finishing first or second. This far into the save, most clubs in Champions League, at least in the knockouts, are going to be on a similar level. Slowly but surely, we're seeing more and more players reach the 90 for their rating. Phillips joining Haaland there. And I wanted to continue improving this team as we had some extra funds left over. And Nandez, while he was a good transfer early on, I'm not sure if he's starting 11 ready. So we're going to look at a fellow Uruguayan player in Nicolas de la Cruz. Honestly, one of the better players that I've tried in game, but still great for these simulations as he joins the club for 55 million. And a couple of players heading out. Bogus joining Frankfurt for 9 million. And Poveda will be heading to Espanyol for 8.2 million. Here's the new look team. Starting 11 obviously is strong, and I feel like we have squad depth across the board. We'll be playing against Inter, last season's Europa League winners in the Champions League. First leg ending in a 2-0 win, second leg 3-1, pushing us through 5-1 on aggregate, and a match against Real Madrid. First leg will end 2-1, and the second leg unfortunately ends in a draw, so Madrid will be advancing. Definitely would have liked to reach the later stages of Champions League, but we will, again, take part in the competition next year because we finished top 4 in the Prem. United going on to win the FA Cup. This time around, City winning the Carabao Cup against Millwall in the final, along with another victory in Champions League. Fair play to them. Wolfsburg winning Europa League, and Fiorentina with Conference League victories. No surprises, Haaland leads the club in goals. Might have expected higher numbers here, though. 27 from 54. That's still good, a goal from every 2 matches, but for a 94 rated player, I'm expecting even more in future seasons. McKennie going up +2 in his rating, and again, leading the club in assists. Our newly promoted Youth Academy goalkeeper, Butcher, has gone up +5 in his rating to a 69 overall during his loan spell at Coventry City. We fell short on most of these objectives, but we'll continue pushing forward into Season 5. At the time, I felt like the squad was good enough to win a Premier League title as well as Champions League, but we're going to continue having funds to our disposal, so we may as well keep making improvements. I'm not going to keep repeating myself too much on board objectives. Y'all know what we want to accomplish. Leeds' last league title coming in 1992, the year before the Football League was changed to what we know today as the Premier League. But we've got a Champions League group consisting of RB Leipzig, Atalanta, and Copenhagen. As Tagliafico is getting older and left back actually being one of our lower rated positions, we're going to go after another Premier League fullback. Of course, Kieran Tierney playing at Arsenal has made the transfer to Leicester in this save, so I felt like it was fair game for him to make the move over to Leeds. 75 mil is what we'll need to spend. Not too bad for an 86 rated player that will still be on the rise. And then adding a little bit of squad depth with Lucas Robertone from Getafe. Actually quite like this guy in game as he does play for Almeria IRL, and he always seems to be a great career mode transfer. Again, not too bad on the transfer fee, 25 million, which was slightly less than his current evaluation. Just a single departure as Junior Firpo was unhappy with his play time. So again, we're going to continue those transfer talks with Valencia. 25.5 million in funds arriving to the club, and we'll kick off the season against Manchester United, who were one of the better teams in the Prem last year, but surely we're right up there in terms of squad rating. We'll see how things have gone halfway through Season 5. And again, it's City sitting atop of the Premier League. We're 4th and well off the mark, 15 points behind them. So it's going to be a long shot for us to catch up and win a league title. But fortunately for Champions League, we will be advancing to the knockouts as we finish second in our group. The last area I wanted to improve this team in terms of squad depth is to sign a right-footed winger. Reece Nelson has been linked with a move away from Arsenal for a while. Actually, he turned down a loan move to Leeds, but now we're a few years on, and I think the move would be acceptable. 20 million is what we paid out to Arsenal, which was right at Nelson's evaluation. So hopefully this will be enough for us to see success in Champions League, as we're probably out of the Prem now. Round of 16 will be against Haaland's former club, Borussia Dortmund, 4-0 in the first leg, and Haaland scoring 2 of those goals. 2-0 in the second leg, putting us through 6-0 on aggregate, and up against Manchester City in the quarterfinals. Bit of a rivalry brewing between us as the first leg ended 4-2, and a huge comeback in the second leg, going all the way to penalty kicks, and we did win that 5-4. So we are through to the semifinals against PSG, which are one of the toughest sides to come up against in career mode, mostly because they have a high-rated defense. But we did win the first leg 2-1, courtesy of an 82nd minute goal from Haaland. A comeback in the second leg from PSG means that we'll see an exit from Champions League. So we'll kind of toss this season up as a loss. We were unable to achieve a league title and Champions League. Finishing third though, so we'll be able to repeat again next season. Liverpool winning the FA Cup against Bournemouth. We will pick up some silverware in the Carabao Cup against Spurs. Shout out to Valencia for reaching the Champions League final, but PSG were slightly better as they won that competition. Manchester United winning Europa League against Hertha Berlin, and Stade Rennais picking up a Conference League victory against Sporting. These numbers are more like it for Haaland, 42 goals across 61 appearances, leading the Prem in goals as well, 27 from 38. Calvin Phillips will likely be on the decline for his rating soon, but that time is still not here as he went up +1 as he reaches 30 years old. Bamford, unfortunately, will be on the decline, -3 in his rating. Probably still good enough to be a rotational striker coming off the bench, though. But I think it comes down to Season 6. We need to meet our objectives, see a rise in our manager rating, and accomplish our targets with Leeds. Priority number 1 is to improve our manager rating, and fortunately, objectives worked out in our favor. We've got a critical brand exposure objective of signing 1 veteran player. This far into career mode, when your squad is so high rated, it's actually quite difficult to achieve this one. We'll talk about that more a little bit later, but for now, our Champions League group will consist of Inter, who we seem to match up against so often, Real Betis, as well as Molde. So another one of Haaland's former clubs. 270 million in the transfer budget, but there's no way we're going to be using the majority of that. So for veteran players, I was trying to make things as realistic as possible. Unfortunately, there's just not many players that fit this criteria. I think the best option will be David De Gea because we need a good backup goalkeeper just in case Millet suffers an injury. Only having to pay 10 million to complete this transfer as we try to get De Gea's first Champions League trophy in his career. As usual, 3 fixtures ahead in August, but this is going to be the team. Quite a few players now into the 90s for rating. We've got Haaland, Phillips, and James. Harrison not too far behind. We'll catch up in January, and again, it's Manchester City that seem to be slightly better than us in this save, but we're still well within reaching distance, just 3 points behind them. Inter winning our Champions League group, but we're going to be advancing with ease, 11 points from 6 matches played. Harrison did go on to hit a 90 in his rating, and as mentioned earlier, I don't think we need to upgrade this team anymore. I mean, everyone on our bench is also 80+ rated. Valencia might seem like an easy opponent, but keep in mind, they lost the Champions League final last year, so I thought this might be a difficult task, but we do win the first leg 3-1. Second leg ends in a 3-2 victory, putting us through 6-3 on aggregate. It's Atalanta in the quarterfinals, and this is when the quality of our squad really starts coming to play. 5-0 in the first leg, 1-1 in the second leg, 6-1 on aggregate in total. And just like that, we are into the semifinals against Inter. They won our group, but on the simulation this time around, we were the better team. 3-0 in the first leg, 2-1 the second leg, and we're into the Champions League final against, you guessed it, Manchester City. The perfect send-off to this career mode. And catching up on the Premier League action, I did not expect us to be near the top end of the table, but our final matchday victory against Leicester, 2-1, ended up being the difference as we finished 1 point clear of City on points. That means we're going to be bringing the Premier League trophy back to Leeds, trying to carry that momentum into the Champions League final against Manchester City. One downside for this match is that we won't have our first 2 left-back options available. Both Tierney and Tagliafico picking up injuries, so I've had to rotate the team a little bit, putting Struijk out wide at left-back and allowing Llorente to play as a left center-back. Hopefully our high-rated attack can carry us and we can get the job done, bring home a Premier League trophy and a Champions League trophy to close out this rebuild. Getting into these highlights, it's De La Cruz played through, finding the channels, has a few options in the middle, tried squaring across to Haaland, and he always finds himself in the right position. But City do well to deny the effort, and a mistake out of the back. It is Mancini to give up possession, and Federico Chiesa has made the transfer a while ago to City. He'll play a big role in the eventual Barella goal. Barella, obviously one of the best talents in career mode, especially as a box-to-box center midfielder, really showcasing that there. But it's going to be a mistake from City out of the back. I have never seen something like this in career mode. It was meant to be just a back pass to the goalkeeper, but it ended up being more of a crossbar challenge. Falls exactly to Dan James, and he's going to hit this effort home on the volley. It's practically an open net for him. I've definitely seen some weird things in FIFA 22, but nothing on this stage, a Champions League final. But a good save from our keeper there to keep things level as we try to build out of the back, playing long ball to James. And he was genuinely one of the best players in this rebuild. His pace is just something else, as he will give us a lead on the counter attack. 37 minutes played, and Leeds are out in front. If our defense can just hold strong, we will see out this match. A big save out of the back, as Chiesa's effort does go wide. Haaland playing through Harrison. Both of our wingers starting with this Leeds team and finishing with this Leeds team, as James could have made it 3, but a huge save from Ederson, who City decided to start in this one instead of Zach Steffen. Haaland in front of goal. Never really got on with him in this save, nor has he been my favorite striker to use in career mode. But fortunately, a couple of big stops here at the end, including this last second corner, was enough to see us finish in front. 2-1 is how things end in this Champions League final, and a good way to close out the realistic rebuild. Regardless, this was going to be the last match, whether we won or whether we lost. So I'm glad Calvin Phillips is able to lift one more trophy for us in this save. We'll get into the end of season recap, and as per usual, I'll talk about some things I like in this rebuild and some things I thought I could have improved upon. Like previously mentioned, we finished 1 point clear of City for that top spot in the Prem. Spurs winning the FA Cup with a victory over us in the final, and the Carabao Cup going to Burnley. So our prior homegrown talent, Barry, may be playing a role in Burnley's success. Champions League going to us. Milan will win Europa League, so they were by far one of the most successful clubs in this rebuild, with Porto winning Conference League over Wolves in the final. As we get into Haaland statistics, we'll start to talk about one of the things I think I could have improved upon, maybe waiting an extra season to sign Haaland. I think season 5 would have been absolutely perfect, but you can't get everything right. As for the assist category, Dan James with 13 assists from 58 appearances. Mele again finishing with the most clean sheets in the Prem. Good to see that he became the top talent he was destined to be. I don't know exactly when Barry made the transfer to Wolfsburg, but hopefully he played a role in Burnley's success, whether that be through his actual performances in game or the funds they would have acquired through that transfer. But our manager rating ends at a 77. We didn't pay the most attention to it once I knew I was in the clear, but I thoroughly enjoyed this Leeds United realistic rebuild, even if it took a couple extra seasons than what I expected. If you enjoyed it as well and want to see more content like this in the future, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, but until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to y'all again soon.